Hello, world. Welcome again to the Women of BSV. We are right at home with our guest today, multi-talented Shem Booth Spain. He is a fantastic world folk musician that delivers it in an electronic style, as well as a thought leader and meme master in the Bitcoin world. He's an OG in Bitcoin and smart enough to catch the wave and ride on over to BSV with us ladies here. And recently, he has announced the opening of his new business that he has built called Blarecast, revolutionizing music sales. So, welcome, Shem.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much, Rory, Ruth, Casey, Korppi. It's a pleasure to be on your wonderful BitcoinSV channel.
Thanks, Shem. Thanks for coming on. We were debating whether to go all the way back to your past history, but I think we should because I don't think I've heard your entire sort of story, like what you did at college, and who you were before you came to crypto. Can you fill us in a bit about your back history?
Yeah, that's quite an eclectic background. So I went to all boys school of dropouts.
You obviously went to a boys' school. Does this explain?
Well, I went to all boys school. That was like it was quite a poor school. Great teachers, but a lot of people didn't felt like they were going to go anywhere. We had, there's a lot of deprivation, and it was a school in southeast England. I left there. I went to college. I was when I was around 15, I was a popular dropout in essence. I joined rock and roll band when I was 15, and would skive off my school classes to play in a rock and roll band that wanted to be just like Oasis and the Beatles and Stereophonics and stuff. And I was interested in art, fine art at that age, and I went to college and studied art, graphics and stuff like that. And I then went to art school, art university, did a first degree in fine art, and I was really interested in traditional painting and sculpture and digital arts, so graphic arts, that sort of thing. And I loved passionate artists that were creative, trying to change people's minds and inspire people with their art. And I got into sound art through music, so guitar, piano. I'm not a piano player compared to Luke Maynick, my business partner, who is an incredible genius composer.
Is he?
He's an incredible piano player, organist. I mean, I can tell. I've got pitch perfect hearing. If someone plays a tune, I can pretty much tell what key it's in or what note it is, right? But I never learned music or classical music. I was interested in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Then electronic music, drum and bass, jungle, EDM, trance, all that kind of. So I was always interested in the genres of music, and just the inspirational side of that, and rock and roll bands, gigging, garage bands, you could call them, so I got into sound art at the end of my degree. I studied a master's in sonic culture, cybernetics, and my dissertation was on synesthesia, which is the mixing of the senses. So I was interested in the unification of the modalities and how different, especially virtual reality, and how sound interconnects with that. And I love my 9-inch nails. I love sound exploration and the sonic soundscape, and that whole kind of acoustic cyberspace stuff. But I kind of moved on from that. So I got into. I finished my masters, and I did a kind of double concept album, Gemini Critical Mass, which was exploring concepts of cybernetics through acoustic cyberspace and folding that back into. I'm a child of the 80s, so I was always interested in the kind of 80s genre of electro, retro wave, we call it now, or synth pop and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I love that too.
And yeah, I was a bit of a futurist, you know. I suppose as one does, you get into Bitcoin because you think, oh yeah, it's 21 million coins, it's can't be printed, it's this new digital money, blah blah blah, number go up, you know, so you know you're building value, and then that blows your mind, and then what happens is you end up usually discovering Dr. Wright and then other people in BSV, and then your mind gets blown again. And then you realize there's this whole new revolutionary potential of Bitcoin that is not what you first find in the crypto industry. When I listened to Dr. Craig Wright when I was in BTC years ago, I don't consider myself OG. There's so many more experts out there. It's a space that I love. It's a space that I'm passionate about. But my understanding of Bitcoin, I think, is evolved, you know, as one does. You end up thinking, do you know what? This is now programmable, ultra programmable money, scalable money. The limitations of its application is down to your inspiration, and business applications of it as well really excite me, the way people can use it and stuff like that. And just like yourself and you folks over at your team, you know, I did the channel, my little YouTube channel, you know, little old me, and we got all the amazing superstars of BSV in to be on air, including you lot as well.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous.
Well,
you've introduced a lot of us to each other.
Well, I've been a spectator as well, and you know, the reason I created the idea of Captain Bitcoin was because I wanted to have something to aspire to myself, that I was going to help this war that was going on against BSV, the truth, you know, that this is the true creator of Bitcoin, Dr. Craig Wright. He isn't what you want, he's what we need, you know. And I remember what that hash war, I was at a YouTube channel called World Crypto Network. Shout out to them.
Oh yeah, no, I remember them. Yeah, I used to watch.
And I heard about Wormhole Cash and Jihan Wu trying to do a proof of burn token with Bitcoin Cash, where you would have burnt 1 Bitcoin Cash and generated 10 Wormhole Cash tokens. That would have burnt Bitcoin Cash and sucked it into this new tokenized universe, that Jihan proof of stake model, completely killing Bitcoin Cash. That for me was like, oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, this is massive. And how can anyone not look at what's going on in Bitcoin Cash and see how big this story is? And I started to red pill myself bit by bit. I was like, actually, this could be Dr. Craig Wright, you know, and he could be Satoshi. What happens if that's true? I could be on the wrong chain, you know, and that concept, you know, no person in BTC would ever, you know, like to be in that position where they think I've put all my money or my savings, or I've put everything, all my eggs in BTC, and I'm thinking this is going to change the world. And then you realize it's nothing. It's more akin to a Ponzi scheme in which new people come in to sell at a higher number with no underlying utility of the coin. And crypto as an industry isn't here to liberate humanity. In fact, it's got its own oligarchy. It's got its own meritocracy of people that are, you know, they're the new kings. They're the new people that are looking to profit, and they're not interested in Bitcoin. They're interested in fiat, because they sell out of BTC into fiat. And
Shem, let me just for a minute. No, the reason I say that is because now I realize why I don't know that much about your past history. It's because you skipped through it pretty damn fast.
Sorry, I didn't even get to the bit where I started doing a PhD but ran out of money.
Well, this is it, because like you're like Renaissance man. I mean, you've got, you know, a lot of different skills going on here. And the line of work that you ended up in was marketing related, was it?
Yeah, so
was graphics related, was it? Or
no, I ended up being business and sales. So I ended up leaving my masters, and I was so honoured. I got a computing and mathematical. I got accepted at a PhD level at computing and mathematical sciences, completely transdisciplinary, at Greenwich University.
Amazing.
And the thing is, I ran out of money. I couldn't afford it anymore, and it was devastating for me. It was a time in my life that I was actually genuinely devastated. I remember like literally crying on the floor. I can't do this PhD, not because I can't, but because I didn't have the money. Yeah.
Oh.
And
it's understandable though. It's hellishly expensive.
Oh yeah. Oh, looking back at it, the timeline of my life, I'm incredibly happy at the way it's went, and it's been a very colourful life. I don't think I'll die and be like, do you know what?
No, I was going to say, because you've done so many different things. I mean, you've fronted bands as well. I mean,
yeah, I love all that. I like it. For me, the stage, the feeling of going into a bar and playing and getting the whole pub heaving. You know, there's times that there's times I've been in a pub and I've went, pass me that guitar, and I've just stood on the table and started, you know, sex on fire and getting the whole pub going. You know what I mean? And I love that. I love live music, and now I'm an older guy now. I'm kicking up to the 40s. I you know, it's other people that is the rock and rollers now, and I understand. I've done my rite of passage. And I don't actually condone the rock and roll methodology no more. I don't believe in excess. I don't believe in I believe in mastery of oneself, and mastery of one's art. Yeah, and a professionalism. So
this sounds a lot like Craig Wright speaking.
I don't know. I for me, when I was 21, it was like rock and roll to the end of time. Yeah, burn it all down. It don't matter. But what does that give it? The philosophy of building something, of leave. I've always been true to a concept of legacy. That it's like, money, legacy. What do you want to do? No one's going to remember you for making a load of money. Yeah, and a lot of people who go, oh yeah, we're hardcore capitalists. It's money, whatever. Or anyone that kind of subscribes to that methodology. I'm not saying that. I'm not talking about the amazing. Who is it? The guy Adam Smith, is it?
Economist? I don't know.
Yeah, the 18th century.
The Wealth
I think
of Nations.
Yeah. Now that guy's a legend, but like, a lot of people, I think there's a miscommunication between capitalism and. When I was at art college, it was full of like communists who were like sitting in the student bar smoking rollies, going rah, 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 and I've heard all of that, and it's just like and art is so stinking of socialism in the worst sense of it, where it's pushing. And I don't see a lot of innovation in art. I don't think sitting there with your dirty knickers on a bed is fine art. For me, Leonardo da Vinci, or some of the modern artists that are actually doing it. I'm a great lover of Japanese art. I think Japanese art's incredible. Even statues, things like sculpture, form, texture.
Well,
all the
On that subject, didn't you live in Japan?
I did for a bit. And it was very interesting. I gigged my socks off around Tokyo. That was a good experience.
Wow.
And and I don't speak much Japanese apart from arigato and the obvious stuff. But Japan's an incredible culture, and incredible. Again, another 2-hour conversation. But for me, there's so much we can learn from other people's culture. It's the wealth of nations, in effect, is culture, isn't it? And what people have got to offer, and the way they see the world, and the language. Really, if you don't, I'm going to start learning Japanese within the next year. I think I'm a bit busy at the moment, but Japanese is definitely on my menu.
Don't you have a Japanese wife? Is that right?
I do. So we have a lot of Japanese in the house, and Japanese language in the house. So it's a sound that I'm very used to, the food and all that kind of stuff. But unless you learn the language, I believe, of a culture, you're never really going to understand the nuances of it, particularly in the way in which someone sees the world. And I love the particularness and the design aesthetics of the Japanese, the way they build great products, great things. I remember I was in a bar once, and there was a pint glass on the table, but it was a miniature pint glass, and it was just like about a little bit shorter, by about an inch off the top. And I picked it up, and I remember speaking to one of the guys. I said, "This is what, for me, summarizes Japan design. They take something they like, they take it and make it work for themselves, for their size, for not for their size, but for their distinctive qualities in which they're looking for something to be designed that's useful for them, and that appropriation of other people's stuff." So
And was it a beautiful place? Is it, because I've never been to Japan?
Very beautiful. Well, there's for me,
fascinated by it.
Yeah, there's two kinds of Japan for me. There's the Kyoto traditional, the kimono, the slowness, the preciseness, the Shinto underlying Buddhist culture that kind of pushes through, and then there's this fast, high-paced, multi-genre aesthetic of this neo postmodernist techie, Japan,
because they're very futuristic.
Yeah, I think so. And what's interesting as well, a lot of the musicians in Japan, I'd see this kind of fusion of 80s rock and roll fused with 90s, and it was like a cross between punk and Guns N' Roses, and it was where they were looking at what they were very interested. And I come from obviously being England near Margate, and the mods and the rockers, that was, my not my roots, but from where my family's roots were, that they were in that culture. So my musical influences were from rock and roll and the mods, and and then psychedelics, Hawkwind, Genesis, and all the classics, stuff like that. So when I saw Japanese Tokyo bands, young guys, 24, shirts ripped off, bandanas on, rocking and rolling with a guitar, singing down the mic because they don't care. I could see them looking, and they were interested. They were saying, "Tell us about Margate. Tell us about the mods. Tell us about the rockers." Well, it's not my age group, to be honest, but what I can tell you, what I do know of that musical genre, and they were kind of fusing these different, how they saw it, if that made sense.
Yeah, because don't they have sort of a rockabilly thing going on?
Yeah, they got so many different genres, and
and it's like a sort of a tribute. Japanese twist.
Well, they got a great singer that's like their David Bowie, a guy called Asker, but he's like got a duo body, and they do music together, and he's a bit like a Bowie for them. And if I could be so rude to call him a Bowie, I'm sure a Japanese person would say, no, you're not looking at it right, and that's fair dues. It's only my perception of what their cultural icons are musically for them. But for me, Tokyo was in a sense an epicenter of the world. 33 million people across the Tokyo district, very high tech, very modern, the way in which people look after their city. It taught me a lot about my own culture in the UK, how I grew up anti-establishment perhaps in my younger years, and looking at how they love their culture. They love their monotheism of culture. Us, the Japanese people, every person is born Shinto, and this kind of.
Are they? I don't know much about Japanese religion.
Me neither, and I'm way underqualified to be able to mention about it. But they've got Buddhism, but I suppose Shintoism, if I could be so rude to have my small opinion on it, would be a form of our paganism as a Christianity came to England. We had this kind of base layer religion, and then we had this other religion come in that became the. But there's elements of paganism in British Christianity and some of the sects. It's way out my place.
I have an example.
Go on. Yeah.
I went to Tokyo once, and I was looking out the window, and I saw there was a bus that was about to leave. And the gentleman that was there working as the bus attendant, he was in a uniform, and it was all very systematic and precise and clean. This is in Tokyo, downtown Tokyo. And then the bus attendant bowed as the bus was departing. Wow. And I thought, wow.
Just so much respect, isn't it? And and for me as well, I remember sitting and walking up an escalator, and there was 5 dudes, all looking like engineers, inspecting the edge of an escalator. And I remember saying to my wife, "Hey, that's like overkill, isn't it? But everyone's got a job, everyone's doing something, there's activity. But obviously, culturally, they've got their own problems. They've got people addicted to gaming. They've got guys struggling to learn how to interact with the opposite sex. They've got an aging demographic. Again, this is way, but just my experiences, what I saw, and but that really built upon my personal journey as a person, going from rock and roll and all these kind of things, and seeing the world in a bigger picture, and then coming back to the UK and thinking, do you know what? I love my country, really. I do love the chips the fish and chips. I do love, the salt of the earth people, and I do love the nicer things in our nation, and it just gave me a very renewed respect about the UK and I've particularly
because we can be very down on ourselves.
I think so, and I think we can be down on things, and there's a kind of disempowerment that when you say, "Oh, it's just the way it is," you're disempowering yourself from being able to interact with it to make a change. And if that micropolitic means that you don't throw litter on the floor, you do wave as the car goes past and you're polite. Those things matter, I think, and I think that, that is the measure of the woman and the man in essence. That we do become disenfranchised when we don't feel we're engaging with our general community and culture, and that for me is something I've come home with my politics, if that makes sense, and whereas before I was like, yeah, let's change the world. No, let's change oneself. What can we do individually? And that actually folds back into my whole journey with BSV, because I feel like, I went from this crypto, it's all about collecting as much Bitcoins and taking from the table, and I'm going to sell out to fiat, number go up. And, that's the core principle of what's underpinning most people in crypto's investment thesis.
It's where you begin.
Yes.
Yeah, this ain't financial advice, ladies and gentlemen, for any of the viewers out there. But, that second epoch that you go into when you get to BSV and your brains are illuminated with the principle of, hang on a minute,
exactly
we could change the world with this, and this can help people and help. This could incentivize governments and finance and business and multiple industries. There is not one potential application that Bitcoin technology, and I use that word Bitcoin, meaning, as Dr. Wright said, Bitcoin is everything. I say crypto, like all these different coins and now my understanding of what I've learned, and I'm still learning, and I certainly do not, ladies and gentlemen, say I know it, and I'm not the person to come to ask, because there's other experts. We're just doing what we're doing over at Blarecast, doing the best we can. But Bitcoin is probably the most innovational technology. I was speaking to Carol Rosin, the eminent NASA scientist. She's I think she was the assistant to Warner von Braun. And she was talking to me the other day about space weapons and, weapons in space and like. And I said to Carol, this technology is going to transform the world. Bitcoin. It's nothing to do with all these scammy coins out there. This ain't anything to do with, burning anything down. This is building from the ashes. This is the phoenix. This could be the beginning of the golden era of humanity.
It really could. It
Amen.
could. Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
And we've come so far in 2 years, but there is so far to go. It's not a case of like, do you know what? In 10 years' time, we're going to have flying cars, blah 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 blah. Isn't it so that we always over promise, but when we get there, it's more than what we thought it was when we look.
That's the weird thing, isn't it? Because we think we want, jetpacks and flying cars, like you say. But like, who could have predicted the internet and the way that's completely transformed every aspect of our lives, from, the way we order our shopping to how we work and how we're having this conversation now. I mean, you couldn't predict all the way, but this is way better than a jetpack.
And it's that attitude.
I'd still want the jetpack
that Shem has for appreciating his cup of tea, and the friendliness, the jovialness, acknowledging where you come from and saying, I'm grateful, this is a wonderful place. And then to build more, to build up, make it greater, make it better, and to explore and say, wow, look at this amazing world. And everyone has something to offer, and we're up, up, up and away, rather than, oh, we're so bad over here, we're so bad. Oh,
can change there,
And I think that's the problem. I mean, mindset is so important in life. Mindset is the problem, that people have a poverty mindset of ill education, I'm not educated by any means, ladies and gentlemen. I certainly don't have the finest
Well, you
English.
sound like it.
You sound a lot more educated than me, Shem.
Well, no, I certainly don't have the finest English accent that I could possibly have. But the point is that, you know, we're trying to get engaged with this new technology and trying to better ourselves as individuals and do something, help leave a legacy. And that for me is a very personal thing. This Bitcoin is the greatest medium of art. That's how I feel about Bitcoin now, because this ultra programmable modality is technology is an extension of the modalities, because it can do all these different things, programmatic, it could be AI, it could be anything that's conceivably developed. I'm not talking about just the basic technical developments and how it gets done, but the end result of what this technology could possibly be. And it ain't possible without the developers. So that's not a dig at the developers by any means, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm saying is that, you know, I don't know.
We're giving the developers a proper job rather than just messing up the bloody protocol.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you know, it's when I heard about Wormhole Cash and I saw what was happening on Bitcoin Cash, and I was just spectating, a newbie dude spectating, and over the fence of BTC with my binoculars, thinking, "Oh my goodness!" There was all this camp that were, you know, the Andreas Brecken. That did the checkpoints on Bitcoin Cash, and Roger Ver high-fiving everyone. It was like the Rebel Alliance. Yeah, we've beat the Death Star, you know, with this rented hash so that we could win the hash war, you know. And then I saw this other side with Daniel Crowitz, Dr. Craig Wright,
Ryan,
Ryan, you know, guy who does Brightview.
Connor,
Connor,
yes, I love those guys.
and it felt like these guys. And I remember Daniel Crowitz saying a comment. I remember watching YouTube. Like I was up, it was like 3 a.m, and like I got matchsticks under my eyes to keep my eyes open. I was on the edge of my seat. Oh my god, this is
mind blowing. Yeah,
and there's a bit where they were talking about exohash, and like Daniel Crowitz stops and he goes, "Doesn't this feel like 20 exohash? Doesn't this feel like Star Trek or something?" And I remember thinking, yes, it does, Daniel. High five. And I just felt after that, I was like, do you know what? I did a show about it on the World Crypto Network, and they kicked me off that night, and I just formed a channel there and then, and I was like, it was Christmas, and I was like, Christmas is BSV time. Let's go. Come on. And I just wanted to talk about it, and you know, and like talk about all these cool dudes and dudettes in the space, and you know, and try to get the noise out. I could see the media war that was going on, and that actually dovetails back, because when I didn't do the PhD, and I remember drifting around a musician, doing the stuff in London, gigging around and all that jazz. And I just went, it seemed like I went through job after job after job, like barman, chef. I was like a street sweeper, secretary. And I actually, someone gave me a job as a salesperson, and God bless them, because I really thrived. I really thrived. And we had an incredible CEO, and that CEO, he really took the time to bash me. You know, and there was a lot of people that molded me in my life. You know, I grew up single parent family, just me and my mum. God bless my mum's spirit. She's not on the planet. She had a tough time with it. And, you know, she did the best she could. And we didn't have much growing up. And, you know, I didn't have many of those strong father figures at a young age. But as I grew up, I had incredible uncles. I had my mentor, J.L. Delara, that was an incredible musician that imprinted on me. There was a lot of strong men that I had around in my lifetime growing up that really influenced me. And it's those people that really made a difference to my life, because they were real men. They were like, no, you got to take responsibility, Shem. You got to get off your ass. You got to go work for things in your life, and you got to man up about it. And you know, that CEO at that ad media company, he just drilled me. I was straight out of uni. I didn't care. I was 24. I was like, I've just done. I was on a PhD, mate. I could do anything I want. And he was just whoosh. He's like, no, you're in the city now, son. You're in the city, and you're going to learn how we really do it. You know, and you're gonna stop making excuses. You're going to learn business skills. You're going to learn how to communicate. You've got to learn to professionalize. And so I did 12 years of full media sales, where we was cutting deals, we was building media campaigns for some of the biggest brands in the UK and the world.
Amazing.
And some of those, I ended up specializing in public sector, NHS, police, councils, because I wanted to do good advertising. I didn't want to do like Coca-Cola, sweets for children, stuff like that. I wanted to do cancer, sexual health, domestic violence, drink and drugs, homelessness, you know, all the variations. And that's just the council stuff, police stuff, and the NHS was different flavors. So I was doing all that for 12 years. And obviously, you know, the deeper you get into BSV and Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin, the genuine Bitcoin, shout out to Toshi there, and Nikki New as well for genuine retweets, right? It's our passion. A lot of us are doing this because we want to be here.
Well,
we live and breathe this.
It sounds to me like your career and, you know, your education as well have set you up for success for where you are now with Blarecast. So move on to that and tell us all about Blarecast. Or Blair?
So,
is it Blair or Blarecast?
Blarecast.
Right.
So we have got an incredible tale about Blarecast because Luke Manick, my brother in arms, my brother from another mother.
I love Luke. You've got to get him on here, actually.
Absolutely, to tell his story.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
That would be fascinating. He's an interesting guy.
It's obviously I'm a muso, and I can spot a muso a mile away. Yeah. So you know, and a musician.
Okay.
A muso. Sorry, my terrible vernacular terminology. so you know, and there was this idea that we've had, and it's nearly been 2 years, and we've got an incredible announcement, ladies and gentlemen, in the next month or so, right?
Yes, at New York, no less.
Hopefully, yeah, God willing. So yeah. So and the problem we're dealing with is a problem that I and Luke have had, which is the payment of music. You can release an album and it would take you between 6 months and 2 years to get paid for that through the traditional aggregation structure that we know as the music. And obviously we can't, I'm not beating up the current structure. In fact, Blarecast would love to be, you know, this is my humble words, you know, a SpaceX of somewhat, helping the music industry to get into space. You know, you can't get to space unless it's through the sovereign nations. You can't just go, I'm going to put a rocket up into the sky. That ain't going to happen. You know, so it makes good sense to work with the systems and help them by being more efficient.
That exist already.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. So, you know, artists, it's no secret, and it doesn't take much desktop research for anyone to take a look at what the problematic areas of monetization and how Bitcoin can help assist that. And it's a tough job. It's not a case of going, well, you spin up a hobby project and in 2 months we'll have a platform and everyone will come onto it. It doesn't work like that. There is a huge gargantuan industry. Absolutely. People within industries, you need experts to interface with those organizations. There's management, mechanical rights, all this kind of stuff. It's a huge industry itself that takes time to break into. And it's not a case of spinning up an NFT. It's not a case of just spinning up a hobby project. You need to scale. And that's what we're trying to do at Blarecast. And I think we're going to have some very interesting surprises for people, because we should hopefully be able to scale. And that will be the difference. We've seen applications come out on BSV that have struggled with scaling, not from BSV by any means, because it's down to, you know, what their stuff is.
The bit that's on their own servers. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I mean, you've got like the biggest back end known to man is the BSV network. So that's scaled already, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. And so jumping back to Luke come on the show numerous times, and obviously we've started to meet one another in this space, this BSV society, as Jimmy Nguyen would say. This you know, we've got this loads of Australians we know, we've got people in Europe, we've got the Americas, you know, so on and so forth, all around the world. It's huge BSV, and there's still so many people we don't know, and there's new people coming and going all the time.
I know, it's great.
Yeah, and we want that. We want the global influx. And I suppose we know that success will happen one day, not when our shows become the biggest, but when these huge shows come in from out and they say, we love BSV all along.
Yes.
We've got 10 million subscribers. Good luck on them. That's what we want, to this space to grow up. And if any of us are lucky that our show God willing to you, lovely ladies, on your project that you end up with 1 million subscribers, then well done. You deserve every penny for it. You know, trust me.
We've got quite a way to go, but yes.
It takes a while, doesn't it? But I think you do build a community around your project, and I think that's important. That's a real takeaway, to build a community around your project, and you know, people come and go, people come together and fall apart, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, things will stick together that are meant to stick together. People will stick together, and I think that's so important about working with people in general. It's known within music that the singer might go and play on their band, their drummer might come and play on their band. You know, that is how bands sometimes operate. Or sometimes they'll be very singular and they just stick together, and that's good for them as well. You know, it's okay. I think technology and Bitcoin suffers from a communication problem, because often if everyone's high level, if everyone's very not sociable, I've got a mosquito in the room now. Oh, he's a Bitcoin.
Chopsticks.
Yeah, chopsticks. So oh, there he is. Oh God. I don't know. It's, you know, for me, when I met Luke, it was just such an incredible synergy, and he's and I'll tell the story, and I've told this story to Luke. I'm very fascinated by the story of the 33 miners in Chile that were stuck underground.
Oh yeah.
And the guy that really pulled them through on a spiritual level was the oldest guy who acted. He did morning prayers, and he kept the team's morale up. And Luke has been literally our morale lights here. He really is. He's been the guy that's really kept us focused on, you know. And you know, I'm usually the one with the plan, you know, and I always shoot from the hip. And you know, we've got two. And my old CEO, we called him to come on the project, and he come and joined us. Whoa. He's in the team of 4 of us.
Amazing.
So, and he is a genius. And he brought his friend. He's like, I'll bring my friend. He's an expert, you know, commercial lawyer. You know,
that's incredible.
So we've got a really tight 4-man team. And it's been so character building as well. It's never chocolate boxes and roses by any means. We're constantly growing and learning and adapting, and you know, there's lots of activity behind the scenes. You know, we're making phone calls. We've got lists as long as arms. You know, where people are doing this. We're in talks with them. We're having chats with them, and you know, we brought these people to come together so that they can influence them people. And so there's lots of things happening.
I would dare to say you're doing the hardest thing. I mean, you're kind of doing the hardest thing.
This is not it. At first, I think me and Luke thought, "Oh yeah, just spin it up," you know.
Because rights and royalties, it's like
it's massive.
Complex stuff.
But if you pull it off, and I do believe it's possible, and it's down to how much the war chest is. Essentially, it's down to you know, funds. It comes to that point where you know you've got to have enough funds to be able to access the different people and all that kind of stuff.
Lawyers and all that stuff. Yeah.
And those lists and phone calls.
Absolutely.
Your thorough work ethic.
I love phone calls. If honest, I was always one of those people that I'd be on the phone, standing in the middle of the office, closing and going, "We're going to do this deal. I want to do this deal. You want to do this deal? Let's do this deal. We're doing the deal."
I can see that.
It's never like that, actually. It's actually more communication and what do you need and what's happening and what is stopping us from building a bridge here. You know, sales is often seen as always be closing and all this cheesy stuff, but
Wolf of Wall Street.
True sales is actually about good communication and doing a good deal.
Exactly, and having a good relationship.
Absolutely, and good deals will last a long time.
Exactly,
bad
where
deals
both
never
parties
last.
win.
Yeah,
exactly.
So Wolf of Wall Street, and actually, I've seen Jordan Belfort live actually, and I was he's a very inspirational sales kind of character, and he denounces everything he's done, for rightly so, because that lifestyle isn't good for you, isn't good for your customers, it isn't good for your business. But there is a lot of takeaway points on his strategy and approach to selling and closing and all that kind of stuff. And it's a traditional American sales philosophy. You know,
just the force of his personality, I think, is really intense, isn't he? I mean,
absolutely.
You know, as are you. I mean, you are a natural born salesman, as far as I'm concerned. When did you get into sort of I don't want to call it DJing, but you know what I mean? What you're doing on the BSV channel, where you're acting as the host. Is this something you've done elsewhere, or did you start on the World Crypto Network?
I started a little bit on World Crypto Network, but I was one of these kind of people that come in and went, yeah, number go up, and for me, the BSV channel has always been about learning and sharing information, and the beauty of what you folks are doing at this channel is you get a visibility that other people don't. You're able to kind of see. You speak to that person, 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 and then you got this,
I know,
and then you hear this from them, and you hear this from them, and perhaps you're and I just wanted to communicate. I want to communicate back to people the little bit I know, and I'm always learning from other people. Shout out to BSV Boom, tough love, I love it, and people like that who have got a good understanding of what's what. And that for me always is informative, and I'm learning, and I mockingly joke, I could say, I'm your humble host, I'd say, because I feel like that. I feel like I'm not here as a host. I can sit there, it's very bravado to go, we're going to smash them, I'm the man, blah 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 blah, but that's not really true or helpful. And that's ego, and I'm just trying to do it from a non.
It could be true. It could be true, but it could also be something unique for you to say, and you inspire us now.
Oh, you do.
I have to say, you're well switched on that you had that awareness when you saw what was going on with Wormhole. I know that I was just all enjoying listening to Gabriel Cardano. I thought he was such a fast talker, and I loved hearing all these things he was talking about with the whole plethora of innovation that would come. And I was just sort of entertained and following along, listening to him until I listened to your show. And then I heard Satoshi and Tramp really calling me out and yelling at me on the show because I made a comment about it. And they were going well off, just saying, no, that's terrible, going on and on. And I thought, these guys are just so pushy and all this
and opinionated
stuff and everything.
They're
and
hilarious,
then it turned out that it's because you were right. And you were telling the truth. And so, in times like that, Tramp and Satoshi, initially I thought, who do these guys think they are? But then
I do love that. That's the one.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Satoshi and Tramp and Nick and Sean have got a special place in my heart because they were the first two dudes that reached out to help me, and it really warms my heart. And we've had our ups and downs, which makes me and us love each other more, because it's never been chocolate boxes and roses. It really is real.
We remember.
Yeah. But like I said, people come together and people come apart, and that's what I love when they come back together.
Well, all three of you very strong personalities. I mean,
absolutely.
It was never going to be easy, was it?
Absolutely, and I think. But there's a synergy, and that's what's great about good bands. Yeah, good bands is all about synergy. Yeah, and that's why when you have the Beatles, you're like, wow, those dudes, they really have something going when there's the four of them, isn't it? And it might be that the drummer can't stand the singer, the singer's having sex with the drummer's wife. One of them stolen the other one's guitar. He owes him £5, or whatever, and it's that tension, it's that. But there's a kind of overriding friendship and brotherly love that supersedes all that. And that that those people have got your back. You've got their back, that they can call you up at 2 a.m. and say, oh, dude, this going down, there's a problem, and you're looking out for them. So, yeah. And I love the fact that people are building their own projects, the fact that Toshi's doing his channel, the fact that Nikki's doing, genuine retweets and other things, I'm sure, and so and that's two of many people that are incredible superstars.
Can I just pay tribute to you guys for a minute, because you gave BSV a face and a personality, and it's sometimes it's marketed in a very corporate way, which is fine, because you've got to put the right bait to catch the big fish. I get it, but at the same time, though, it's so nice you were community building this whole time, and so important. And I think you made such a difference and got us off onto like a fast start back in 2018.
Really?
In December. Yeah. I think it was made a huge impact.
Oh wow. Well, do
really
you know what?
do.
That's an absolute honor for me to
Yeah.
and a tribute to the guys as well, you know, for coming on, because I always felt the BSV channel's got 4 epochs so far. It's got the first epoch where it's just me on my own. We had the second epoch where it was the trio, yeah. And then we had a third epoch where Jimmy Lewis, who's disappeared, we don't know where he is in the world. He could have passed away. We really don't know. Yeah. And the fourth epoch was like the kind of COVID bit where it was a bit of a silence. And then I think we're in the sort of fifth epoch at the moment where that's me now focusing on Blarecast so that we can create the second stage booster for the next run up, yeah, of BSV's history that I'd like to partake in.
I think you laid the groundwork for us as well, because I don't think we'd exist if not for you.
And
well, I mean, you lot are far more prettier than us three, so.
Well, at least we show our faces. It's more than can say just totally.
No,
but like,
yeah,
no, I just think it was such an important move, and you guys are always, you know, guys that you'd like to go and have a pint with, and that is a really powerful thing in and of itself, you know, because you can talk about tech all day long, but to have conversations that resonate and you know, bring people in with you and bring them in and make them laugh as well. That's absolutely priceless stuff, and it's not something anyone else is really doing. So I'm really, you know, thank you for that, because you've made this whole last few years so much more entertaining than it would otherwise have been. And you know, the networking aspect as well, I think, because we've had quite a few meetups and things. I remember you getting your guitar out at that one. God, when was that now? Maybe 2 years ago now. You know, and just fantastic evenings that I'll remember my whole life. You know, and it's that as well, isn't it? It's not just technology. It's not just that we're changing the world, hopefully, but that we're making friends along the way. You know,
that's why I feel so. The BSV space is a very interesting space. It's not like BTC. BTC is full of really geeky dudes with neck beards, and it's very high level tech.
Yeah.
And it's
but they're not right about the tech.
No.
Yeah, they're not right about the tech. It's almost work.
It got too complicated. They overcomplicated
it's and it's, you know, we see with that fluffy pony and the magical crypto friends, it's just very dark, and it feels like we're in a time of light where the beautiful professional people will come in to save Bitcoin now. You know, and for me it was just trying to document that in the early stages, and now it's trying to partake in that effort, you know, and put what I learned from all of the people that gave me their time and their experiences and their interest in different points of view into practice. You know, it's like, right, you know what, we've seen loads of projects go on, we've seen what's gone right, we've seen what's gone wrong. You know, we think there's an area that we can solve, and we're going to have a darn good crack at it and do it as best of our ability to make a stable business built on BSV that's going to help this world, you know, in the way it can for this industry, you know. And yes, for me, CoinGeek 220 was a real mind blower. It was great to meet everyone for the first time, and
wasn't it? Yeah,
and it was so incredible. It
Rory
really
was
felt
there.
like, yeah, I remember. That's what I mean. You know, we was all there, and dinner party and stuff like that, and yeah, really of a tough 2 years. That's a very shining light memory for me, that period, because you know, it was like a hectic week with a crescendo of really good conference, you know, and it was packed full of lovely professional people from around the world that are bringing a level of professionalism that cleaned up Bitcoin. You know, that was the cleanest Bitcoin event I've ever seen. Most professional, and people looking beautiful, and you know, everything that's good and right about professional business in the 21st century, you know, was represented in that conference, you know, and it was high tech, lovely 90-foot screen.
I know,
you know,
that was an incredible screen, wasn't it?
and-
I was completely blown away by that screen.
you know, and
I've
just
never
to-
seen a screen that must have been like the size of the end of a football stadium.
It was a bit like a conference screen. It was a bit like a concert screen. You know, like I can imagine Lady Gaga being on the center of it.
Exactly.
You know, and flashing lights behind it.
Must have been 100 foot long.
Yeah. So, yeah, for me, that was a real inspirational event. And, you know, there's still so much to learn. It never stops. I'm so excited about Blarecast. I can't talk a lot about it because it's so
I was going to say the detail. Yeah, no, I get that because you've got to save it for Queen Geek in New York. For a start.
But what I can say, it's like a stealth fighter with laser guns on it, flown with unicorns. It's a unicorn stealth fighter with lasers.
But it's quite clever because you've had us imagining what it is now for well over a year, if not
but we've
years.
purposely been doing that.
Yes, and so we have in our mind. I know that
I know.
Send out the link to all musicians, radio DJs,
Any musicians, Blarecast.com, sign up.
Yes.
You know, and our business is actually called Blarecast Systems. You know, did you know that?
Systems.
Little nod to Sarah Connor there.
And how about
called in the
Korppi? Korppi does fine art. So is Blarecast Systems something that could profit her as well?
Sorry, say that again.
With Korppi's artwork, she's a fine artist. She does pyrography.
Is it just sound?
You're a fine art sound at the moment, but who knows what's possible in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you've got to think about it a little bit because you could end up being the eBay of, you know, keeping people's sort of musical rights and so on. You could always extend it later, couldn't you?
Well, it's a interesting phase, this NFT malarkey going on and everything that's happening at the moment. And I've got to admit, you know, I'm probably a little bit with Toshi and Nikki on this. That there's a lot of junk out and a lot of noise, and and it wasn't good when we saw coins come out, these token coins come out for such high prices and then them gone down. You know, that's I'm interested in the utility of things. You know, I want to kind of look at things and go, oh, you know, what does it do? You know, and as like yourself, your hosts on the show, tell me why this is good. You know, sell it to me. You know, why should I be interested? Otherwise, you know, BSV as the underlying asset is going to be more of interest to me. But that's not to say that there is incredible projects using them at the moment. I mean, crypto fights, these people have been blasting. That's one BSV project, smash it. And these swords that you can get, I'm not a big player. I've tried to play it. I tried to do it on the channel when they were updating, but they've recently upgraded, you know, so they can scale for loads of people and all that stuff. And they've just absolutely been flying. That is one app. That just goes to show, ladies and gentlemen out there, you know, one app that people could build.
Multiply by 1,000.
Yeah, talk about a force multiplier. And I don't think there's going to be much propaganda that can stop real world action. No. And that's the beauty of where we're in at the moment. And, you know, from a marketeer, it was very obvious that there was a marketing war because I understood what was happening at BTC. I understood all the players, you know, Safeton, Amos, you know, all the influencers of BTC, you know, and the infrastructure of the scammy crypto industry of the exchanges and, you know, the people that proliferate the multi coins and dark coins. You know, it's pretty clear who those people are. And then you've got this whole new shiny light BSV space, and it's still got little bits of, you know, stuff that's growing and needing to be, but it's coming out. And this is a clash of, you know, I can't wait to Copa. I've got to admit, it's going to be amazing.
I know. It's going to be a very interesting autumn and winter, don't you think?
Absolutely. The autumn of no discontent for us. The autumn of discontent for others.
Do we know when Copa actually comes up in the course? Because I don't think I know. I know Kleiman's going to be in November, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we've literally got a calendar of amazing things that are coming down the pipeline. And I mean, call me bullish, but I think it's going to be a hands down on each one. Spank, 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 spank. It's going to be like whack-a-mole, you know, where a little mole will pop out and then bang.
Yeah.
Another one, bang.
Pom pom.
You know, and it's going to be very interesting to see, you know, how long can BSV be held down? That's what's happening now.
I know, because it feels really like a ball held under the water.
Yeah,
and like it keeps bobbing up and they keep pushing it back down.
Yeah.
Like big guys bullying a small one which has brains.
Yeah. And this is the thing, that small one's going to grow up to be like, you know, beautiful, 6 foot tall, huge, with an axe in its hand. You know. And,
but it seems to be gaining force all the time.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing, and it's interesting to see how people capitulate on the way, and some of the terms, the ebbs and flows of people's emotions as they're riding this very turbulent wave. You know, from some of the people. I'm not going to mention names, but even some people in the space that you'd think, wow, you know, I didn't think that guy would, you know, sell all his BSV and chicken out, you know. Like, or maybe it's just an all ruse. That's the beauty of it. It's a big game, you know what I mean?
It is. It is a game of bluff and all the rest.
A game of bluff. But that, for me, that's I'm interested in the masterful art side of it, the you know, the learning of it, the professionalism of it, you know. And I know a lot of these BTC goons wouldn't last 10 minutes in the city. You know, they couldn't wear a suit. They turn up with a shirt, and they'd say, "Have you ever worn a shirt that looks like straight out of the packet?" You know, you know. So I just think that, you know, we're in incredible times, and it could be very hard for people because, you know, it's easier to not do much, and the first thing people often will think is, oh, you know, it's when we're chasing number go up, we forget about the legacy of the technology. We forget about why it's amazing. Elon Musk said a great comment. He said, sometimes we're doing rockets, not just for rocket's sake. Obviously, that's important, but rockets make us feel good about the world, make us feel alive, humanity. And I really love that, you know, and I know that's a bit for anyone listening. They go, oh, it's Elon Musk, you know, it's probably, but I resonate with it because I think that sometimes, you know, there needs to be things that make people feel good. Yeah, make people feel good and believe again, you know, and you know, nothing good comes easy. And I think the journey that people go for, I mean, when I look at the journey for myself in my humble situation of where I've went through, you know, I think I could have had an easier time, you know, staying in crypto, staying in BTC, but boy, ladies, God, am I proud to be where I am in this journey, in going through this rite of passage, going through this journey that we're doing it. Of course, it's been more difficult. Of course, it's been a challenge at times, the ebbs and flows and going against the grain. But it's for a better reason. It's for the right reason. It's for the right cause. You know.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
So yeah,
and that's the thing. You wake up every morning and you're excited.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I don't think a lot of people in crypto can say that.
Absolutely, and people are just after the pump. It's a very shallow.
It's very shallow.
They're just after the pump, and they've seen some numbers on their little gadget. They've got that little spike of of neurochemicals cycling through their head. They've never, you know, but that is nothing compared to what the true understanding of wealth and wealth in one's life. And you know, and everyone in BTC thinks they're an economist, you know, and you know, then so it's bananas. It's there's so much to learn in life that's what gets me up in the morning, learning and growing and trying to develop and getting on with stuff and building, you know, and I just want to inspire other people to do that. I think that in this time, you know, we're in an interesting epoch of BSV at the moment, in my humble opinion. I mean, we're in this phase where we've got massive transactions. Big blocks are all regular now. It's like another day big blocks, and we have this super massive 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte blocks and stuff. And we've had this again more hack attack on BSV that failed, you know, and the dark forces of crypto are trying as they may to stifle what's going on. But building is the solution to it. You build them off the cliff. It's going to be so undeniable, you know, and just the way people are building different types of businesses and applications. And there's so many other people out there who are doing it, ladies and gentlemen, that we can learn from, you know, their successes, their mistakes. Yeah. And, you know, yeah,
to me, it's like the .com boom over again. So I definitely think there's going to be some more twists and turns yet. You know, this whole thing's going to have a big shakeout at some point. But in the meantime, like, we're being forged in fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Diamonds.
Yes.
This is going to really make, like, I mean, this is, it's interesting you say that like that, actually, Ruth, because I was thinking something similar, that someone went diamond hands, like, and I was like, no, diamond skin. This is getting your diamond skin that you,
That's right.
Where you're learning to really punch through it all and to be super resistant under it, and the more pressure,
learning to master yourself.
Yeah. And in whatever business or project you're doing, because nothing good comes easy. You know, I don't think people that make success, whether it's financially or wealth in their life, or even building a legacy or building any project or whatever doing, it's never as plain sailing ride. And you know, from what I see of other people's things, I always think, you know what, they really did cry and bleed about that. And it did take a lot of elbow grease. It did take a lot of blood and tears to get that going. And that's what people see Elon Musk, and they probably think, he's so chilled, and, you know, but it's funny.
He's been through it. Yeah.
Well, I know Elon Musk probably not the best example, but for me, I thought it was quite poignant that while Branson and Mr. Amazon are flying up into space, you know, he's on the factory floor. He ain't got time to go at space. You know what I mean? He's too busy there, you know, overseeing things. And you'll see him posting videos. He's literally living on premises, and he's, you know, he's up 10 stories up the rocket, talking with the engineer, and they're videoing and talking about his head is just full of what they're doing. He doesn't think about anything else. And that's how what we do at Blarecast. That's how we're doing it. You know, I know we're talking BSV, but 99% of our time we're living, breathing, sleeping record stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Music industry stuff, and blah, blah, you know, and how that relates to blockchain, and you know, this, that, and the other, because we've got to live and breathe it. You've got to be so involved in it if you want to make it happen. And even then, it ain't no promise that just because you put a load of hard work in something, that ain't no promise that it's going to succeed, but it gives you the best chance of success. Wise man once said to me, what did he say to me? I forgot. I've heard a few.
Something so wise you forgot it.
It's so What's it? Preparation is the best substitute for excellence. That was it.
That's a really good point. Yeah,
that's a really good
some
one.
people, you know, look like they're gliding on the surface, but they're paddling away underneath. You know, and it's all about preparation and you know, being ready for the moment when the moment comes. Yeah.
Also, that hope, that belief, that ability to see that, yes, it can be all that and more.
Yeah,
for sure. Can I perhaps call this to a close, because we've been talking for just over an hour now?
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
It's been lovely having you on. Like I say, when I was telling you to slow down at the beginning, this is I think why we don't know your backstory, Shem, because you're a bit hide your light under a bushel a bit. You know, not keen to talk about your successes and qualities and all of that and your talents. But we appreciate you massively.
Yes.
You know, when are you going to be on a show again? Because I don't think you've done one for a couple of weeks. So get back to it.
Yeah, I will try. Thank you very much.
But I always try and catch it when I can. I don't always see the notification, but I do really, really love your show. And we love you being in the space. And, you know, you brought us together. So we have you to thank, actually, for our existence.
Thank you.
Between you and Satoshi, anyway.
Exactly. And if I may, we keep having these fire concepts, and all throughout your interview, I kept seeing
Yeah.
you as the torch bearer.
Definitely.
You've been carrying that torch, shining a light through the
Yes.
dark
Mhm,
terrain, and you've let us all.
For us to
and,
follow.
You know, we love you, Shem. We love you, and we're thankful for
Aw.
you.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
do. We surely
Let's
do.
light a fire. Let's throw some petrol.
Seriously,
Everyone have one.
And then
Here's
start
your
burning.
torch. Here's your torch. You have one, Casey. Everyone have one. And you, Rory. Torches
Let's
around.
go.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm going to press the goodbye button, so I'll give you a wave. Thank you very much,
Okay,
Dennis, for
goodbye.
having me on
Thank
the
you
show.
so much.
We love you, Shem.